Hi there viewers, welcome to Revelation TV, Get Well, Stay Well. We've been discussing about the autoimmune disease and autoimmune disorder. So, delighted to be joined by Felicity once again. Just explain to our viewers who may have missed it, what have we discussed in the last hour?
Well, so many people write to me about autoimmune disease, whether it's arthritis, or it's lupus, or it's chronic fatigue syndrome, or it's Hashimoto's, or it's Graves'. People are just finding that their immune system is down and their autoimmune system is wrecked, so that they are starting to get these diseases. And it's so easy to get rid of them because they're all caused by inflammation. And the inflammation is due to what we have eaten, what we have drunk, with the sugars, the wrong salts, the wrong fats, and the bread, of course, which is now nothing like the bread in Jesus' day. The fish, which is nothing like the fish in Jesus' day, and a tremendous amount of processed chemical foods. So really we have brought this upon ourselves.
Now, we were talking about the importance of eating the right foods, and we also discussed about vitamin D. Talk to me about vitamin D deficiency.
Well, vitamin D deficiency is probably responsible for a lot of our disease, for cancer, for heart disease, for diabetes. You know, it's really serious that people living in areas where there is no sunshine are actually getting really deficient in vitamin D. So if you really cannot get into the sunshine, then you have to supplement, and it's making a huge difference when people bring up their levels. You can email the Birmingham City Hospital, who do a test by post with a blood sample, just a little prick on the finger. It's not a proper blood sample, but they can actually analyze it, and within a few weeks you have back your vitamin D level test. And if you are deficient, and probably 98.9% of people in Britain are deficient of vitamin D, then you have to supplement and bring it back in order to give the immune system a chance to fight off these diseases.
Okay, well, let's take a look at our clip today. This is by Dr. John Bergman, and he's talking about the vitamin D deficiency.
Now, we're looking at this. When you look up vitamin D deficiencies, you start thinking, autism? What? Could this be why a mother, if she's vitamin D deficient, has more chance of her child becoming autistic? Wow. Could it be that since women, if they get Pitocin during the delivery, there's a higher rate of autism? Could it also be that there's a higher rate of autism in pregnant women who've had multiple flu shots? And there's a higher rate of autism in kids that have had vaccinations? Could it be one or all of those factors? We don't know. We're not studying it. Okay. Remember those 3 blind mice? Okay. Yeah, it's better just not to ask. So when we look at this, vitamin D deficiencies, autoimmune disorders. So what causes autoimmune disease so far? We know vaccine toxicity, we know vitamin D deficiency, we know toxicity from the medications and toxicity from the foods. Wow, it looks like deficiency or toxicity is it. So here, Becky, sweet gal, okay, she had demyelinating of the nervous system. This happens to be, and she was the mother of 2 kids, okay, young gal, really sweet. When you got 2 young kids and you got a future of being in the wheelchair, is that scary or scary? Yeah. Well, now, she did drink Diet Coke. Now, Diet Coke has a sweetener in there, that's chemical, that breaks down at 86 degrees. Wait, what's a human body temperature again? 98.6. Well, that's higher than 86, isn't it? Well, that would suck if you were human and you drank some of this, wouldn't it? Because it breaks down into formaldehyde and alcohol and has demyelinating symptoms. It can actually cause multiple sclerosis-like symptoms. So all diet products are incredibly dangerous. Yes, she was doing Diet Coke. Yes, she had a lifestyle where had a lot of diet products because she'd just given birth. She wanted to get skinny again. Well, she goes in, and the only way to diagnose MS is you start to lose control, and then they do a scan, and they find brain lesions. Sure enough, they found the brain lesions. She comes in, we get her diet cleaned up, we get her nervous system working correctly. This is her neck. Obviously, it doesn't have a beautiful curve the way a normal neck should, and that was also changing the firing of the nerves up to the brain. Well, 90 days goes by, her symptoms go away, she gets a second brain scan, and there's no lesion. Go on, say it with me. That's a miracle. Yeah. What's frustrating is when you look at this, human beings are the miracle. We don't know how you work. We know kind of roughly. We don't know that. I mean, we used to think that glial cells in the brain were just the glue. Now we know that they direct stem cells. We don't know how that happens. We don't know how a lot of this stuff happens. So if the doctor says this is exactly what's going on with you, he's ridiculous. This little gal, darling, I mean, this is a normal curve. That was her curve that she walked in with. Her mom wanted to get her put on disability. She had rheumatoid arthritis, okay, and fibromyalgia. Now, the only way to diagnose rheumatoid arthritis is you get a blood test, and it has a positive RA factor, and along with joint pain and stuff, okay? So her mom wanted me to put her on disability. Little 12-year-old on disability. So what causes rheumatoid arthritis? Excess antibody production from the vaccination, attacking the joints, or toxic food products, or with her, birth trauma that damaged the neck that caused multiple ear infections. If you get multiple ear infections, what do they give you? An antibiotic. Okay.
Hi there, welcome back. Just so interesting, a pregnant lady who has vitamin D deficiency is more likely to have a child with autism.
Yes, there's all kinds of reasons, and that's, you know, one of the ones that Dr. Bergman is pointing out, and it's absolutely true that the more toxicity in the body and the deficiency of the living enzymes, of the vitamins, of the minerals, the more likely we are to have problems.
And talk about the toxication in foods.
Well, foods have become very toxic. You know, we're actually becoming addicted to the wrong sugars, the wrong salts, the wrong fats. And they taste very good because the scientists are putting in MSG, which is monosodium glutamate, to make it taste even more delicious. Chinese food, of course, is loaded with MSG. And so these excitotoxins are actually having a really bad effect on the body. And we need to get back to God's foods, to the onions, to the carrots, the apples, the avocados, the natural things which actually give us the right enzymes. Because you see, every fruit, every vegetable that God has designed has its own enzymes packed in with it for digesting it.
Because the point is, with junk food, processed foods, or the foods that aren't so good for us, we eat them, maybe they taste good, but they just don't do anything to us. They don't fill us up, do they?
They don't fill you up and they don't nourish you. Mm-hmm. So your cells are only as good as the food that you put in. It's like building a house. If you build it with mud and sticks, you know, it's going to get blown down. And if you build it properly with concrete and cement and iron bars, it's going to be a strong building. And the body is just the same. So we have to give it the right building blocks.
Explain to me psychologically how our minds work, because with the business side of today, things like junk food, it's a business at the end of the day, isn't it? And how when we watch the adverts on television or in a nice photo in a magazine of a burger or anything like that, our minds are automatically thinking, that looks tasty.
Well, that's all the big dollar and the big pound and the marketing, isn't it? You know, so much is the marketing and the presentation. We're not told the truth in marketing. We're told what's going to sell a lot of products. And I think that the public have been very gullible in believing that someone is actually watching out for you, that someone has approved these foods, which in fact they have not. It's the same as the drug industry, that it regulates itself. And so really people have to start taking an intelligent interest in what they're putting into their bodies if they want to stay well.
And it's like we always say on our programs, it's research and it's education and it's knowing, because the fact is most of us maybe have gone throughout our whole lives eating the bad foods or the foods that aren't so good for us, and we're just completely unaware of what we should and shouldn't have been eating, and of course the dangers that we've put our bodies in.
Well, the great thing is that the body can heal itself given a fair chance. So if people will come onto the colonics, if they'll get on a Gerson diet, which they can do at home just with the colonics, I just sell the little detox packs that people can buy off my website, which is the best one. You can't hurt yourself with it. It's a soft implant tube. And if people will just detox and then start eating and drinking the right things, you know, all we need is a small handful of fruit and vegetables, seeds, nuts and green plant, and a pair of running shoes. Or even if people can't get out to run, they can walk, get in the sunshine, then you're getting your vitamin D. And really you can have your own health spa at home.
Because the point is of our programs is we're not only helping people who have certain diseases, but also how they can prevent it as well. And that is just vital with the foods that they're eating, the lifestyle that they're leading, exercise, like you've just said as well. I mean, how can someone who maybe isn't used to exercising, how can they get into exercise?
Well, we start off by doing the breathing exercises, because really people need to re-oxygenate the body. You know, we need to really oxygenate the cells. We think of just breathing into our lungs, but in fact, through the blood system, all our cells get oxygenated from what we eat and drink and breathe. So we need to really take some exercise, start with the breathing, even 10 minutes away from the computer, getting out in the fresh air. I think everyone, Dan tells me, everyone is entitled to 10 minutes outside in the fresh air when they're sitting at a computer all day. So people can do that and get out there and get some lungfuls of fresh air. Not so easy if you're in a town, you know, in a big city.
Yes.
But here, where we are in the country, is so much easier. And really then start to exercise and do something you like. So if people want to dance, they dance. They want to go to a gym, they can go to a gym. I prefer to walk in the fresh air.
I mean, I think the point is we might have the attitude of, oh, we're too busy in our lives, we're too busy working or with the family to think about looking after ourselves, to be eating the right foods or to be doing exercise or dedicate some time. But the way that our minds are affected by how we look after ourselves, productivity-wise, will probably do work a lot better, won't we?
Oh, absolutely. And people need to have a holiday, people need to get away and really think about other things. And, you know, we must prioritize our bodies, because God has given us these amazing bodies, you know, fearfully and wonderfully made, Psalm 139. And we are given this gift of the body, and we are here for a purpose, we're here to do something. And so we should look after ourselves and look after our families as well. And then we can be the best we can for God.
So Revelation TV, we constantly have new viewers on our channel and probably new viewers to our program. And if they haven't seen us before, we've discussed about the raw vegan diet or the drinking juices. Just explain, where is a good starting point for that?
Well, the thing is to start with rehydrating the body. So pure water and pure juices. People can get a juicer, a little tiny blender or a proper juicer, and start drinking at least 8-ounce glasses a day of beautiful fresh juice. Rehydrate the body, get some exercise, and then gradually get on to an apple a day, you know, keeps the doctor away. Yeah, it's true. Mm-hmm. And apples, broccoli, and cabbage, cucumber, these are the foods that are so inexpensive, but they really do heal us.
And maybe to make it exciting as well, if you want to get the children involved, to grow your own fruits and vegetables as well.
Well, that's huge fun as well. And, you know, children need to know that this food really comes from the ground. It doesn't come from a packet in the supermarket, which some children really believe that that's where the food comes from. So we have to get back to nature. We have to get back to understanding our bodies, understanding the biology, and understanding the plants and the environment, because it's all a matter of intercommunication throughout the body, the mind, the spirit, and also intercommunication in the world, where we need to heal the world as well as heal ourselves.
What sort of advice would you give to our viewers who maybe aren't going through the perfect time in their life right now, mentally? What advice would you give to them, and how much can eating the right foods help them?
Well, stress is huge, and that's why I've just brought out a little booklet called Depression, it's anxiety, we've all suffered from these things at bad times in our lives, and so 95% of all sickness is actually caused by the depression or the anxiety, that state of mind. So I think it's so important. So I spent nights and nights working on this little booklet, which I think really helps, and people need to do that. We have to really get the mind right, the spirit right, and then the body will follow. And it's inexpensive, it's so easy to follow this diet. You know, it's not expensive. The expensive foods are the meat, the dairy, the processed foods. And when we get back to the onions, the carrots, and the apples and the bananas, it's really very inexpensive.
I think maybe some of our viewers out there might be going through a particularly difficult time in their lives, and it can feel like they're on their own. But it's just reminding them the case that we've all gone through certain times in our own lives, individually, personally, and we've all got through it. And for them to realise they're not on their own, but just explain the importance of having God in their life as well.
Well, I think it's vital, and you know, Psalm 118 in the very heart of the Bible says, "I will not die but live and proclaim what the Lord has done." And when you have the Lord in your life, when you get back to the words of Jesus, which are non-denominational, they're we call denominations abominations, because then you have all kinds of problem coming in. So it's not that kind of religion, it's a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, a personal relationship, knowing that He's right there in your life with you, directing you, comforting you. And when we have that, of course, the body has such a much better chance to thrive and be alive.
And I think it is just taking things back to basics, I guess, with your relationship with God in your life. I can say from my own personal experience, I have a relationship with God where I look to God like a friend. And if I'm going through a particular moment in my life, I literally just pour my heart out to Him and know that He's there, and I live my life, everything is for a reason. And I live my life in complete and utter trust in God. And I know God has the right intentions. So when I'm going through a difficult time, I know that is for a reason. But slowly as well, it's educating yourself. I can't say I know the Bible back to front, but it's a process as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And when you're given a few weeks to live, as I was 11 years ago, or you lose a daughter, as I did, you lose a precious child or husband or wife, that is a moment when you really start looking at life from God's perspective. It's like the tapestry. You know, when you look from the wrong side, it's all loose ends and you can't see a picture. Turn the tapestry over, which is God's perspective, and suddenly every stitch there has been for a reason, and has created this world that you're living in, and that's where God has placed us to do the best that we can. So I think you see the big picture, and since I was so ill 11 years ago, I knew the only thing I wanted to do was to make programs, to run courses so that people could get well and stay well, and to prevent sickness in the first place.
Just remind our viewers, if you can, your story, what happened in your life, and how much was God an influence in that?
Well, I was originally a British Red Cross nurse, so I always loved healing. I then worked in the Houses of Parliament, began to learn about the politics of things, got married, had my 3 children, lost a beautiful daughter to cancer, she was actually diagnosed on her 18th birthday and dead at 20. So started to think very seriously about life, started looking at alternative health, complementary health, but always...
When you were going through that particular time in your life, when your daughter was diagnosed with cancer, how was your faith at that time?
Well, I always had faith, and she knew she was going to Jesus if she died, and I think that's the main thing, that when people are facing death, and we all are, we're all going to die, we're only here for a short span of time. So the great thing is to know the Lord, to know that you are saved. In fact, this world is not the end, and that we have Christ in eternity, what a difference that makes to the whole perspective on life.
Just finish off your story if you can, please.
Well, after Melanie died, I then went and trained around the world. I went literally everywhere to train. Got ordained in America, trained in America, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia. Really studied Chinese medicine, Indian medicine as well, because they all have things to offer. It's not just our British medical system that is meant to be healing us. And discovered integrated health, which is why I've just been to America with the Integrated Health Cure to Cancer Conference, where this is really the paradigm shift that's happening in medicine now, that people are coming together from orthodox backgrounds together with the natural medicine. So it's a really exciting new prospect that people are all now looking at integrated health, taking the best of everything, and it works.
It does work, but we'd also like to remind our viewers, like we always do, to obviously consult their doctors before making any changes in their own medical life as well.
Doctors, naturopaths, whoever their medical care provider is, yes.
And what about the way that you felt that God was working in your life when you were going through that to the time that you are now, and you're obviously sharing your own experience and helping so many others?
Well, when you're going through it, of course, it's just you're living through hell, and that's really difficult, and you can't see the wood for the trees. But if you keep your mind on the Lord, if you ask Him what He wants to do through this and through the situations you're going through, then, and of course when you want to heal other people as you have been healed, I think that is really critical in getting well yourself, because you have a mission, you have something you want to achieve, and an ethical will you want to leave for the future, for children and grandchildren.
And since your experience that you've had, you've been there, you've done it, just explain to us your eating routine, shall we say. What is your day-to-day diet?
Well, it's changed dramatically from the egg and bacon breakfast I used to provide for everybody, and the kind of food that I cooked, because now of course it's much more raw food. I've learned that it's only the living enzymes that actually nourish the body. So I start off with well hydrated in the morning with a glass of water with a little fresh lemon squeezed in, just a little, just a touch. And then the bicarbonate of soda, which alkalizes the body. So I have a teaspoon of that mixed up in the water, drink that down as well. Then I get into my juices. So like today we've had the watermelon juice. We have green juices. It's really important to get green because it's the action of the sun on the green plant that makes the chlorophyll. And that's what we need to get into our bodies. And then very often I'll have a day of just drinking juices. If I want a filler, I'll have cooked vegetables, apples, avocados every day. I do soups, lovely homemade vegetable soups, which are of course cooked. But if you do 80% raw and 20% cooked vegan, so you're sticking with God's diet all the way through, this really is the answer, and it takes away the inflammation in the body that causes the autoimmune disease we've been talking about today.
I think that's a very good example of just an overview of what the possibilities of our viewers can be eating, because when they're looking to change their diet, they're often maybe a little bit blank and they say, where do I start? Where is a very good starting point? If they're doing this for the very first time in their life and they want to go to the grocery store or start with the fruits and vegetables, where is the best place to start?
I think buy an apple. That's the great thing. Buy an apple and eat it. Buy the avocados, buy the all the beautiful bland fruits and vegetables that we can get. You know, the citrus ones are important as well. For instance, the grapefruit is a wonderful detoxifier, and we have to just build up literally what we can see. If you can buy organic, so much the better, because so many of our vegetables and fruits are actually sprayed.
Okay, Felicity, well, sadly we've come towards the end of today's programme, so thank you ever so much for joining us today. Thank you also to our viewers. Just to remind you that Revelation TV has a catch-up service on our website. So if you go to www.revelationtv.com, you'll be able to see today's program, and you'll be able to overview all the videos that we have played today. So viewers, thank you so much. Just remember, it's look after yourself, and it's the foods that we put in our body is the best way to stay to the best health that we can. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you same time next time on Revelation TV. God bless. Bye.